What's so crazy, Maria, is that at any time Senator Thune can embrace the talking filibuster, but I'm also hearing that within his chamber and his thin majority that there are senators not supporting it. So that is definitely a realistic approach in the event that they choose to not do the right thing, which is embrace the talking filibuster.
So, I mean, the talking filibuster, walk us through that. How would that play out? In other words, you're having an opportunity for Democrats to actually make the case. Why would you oppose having proof of citizenship?
Well, what it does is it basically will force them to allocate a certain amount of floor debate time, which they only have a set amount every year. In my opinion, they should probably change that, too, because Senate and really the House of Representatives has one job. That's to debate and to vote. And if they don't want to do that, we're in big trouble. But exactly to your point, it basically forces the Senate to debate to the point of exhaustion, and then they can't obstruct any ability to prevent the vote from coming to the floor.
Tonight's exchange centers on a procedural battle in the Senate, but beneath it lies a broader fight over election law, institutional norms, and political messaging ahead of a State of the Union address. The focus is the talking filibuster and the SAVE Act, two terms that may sound technical but carry real legislative consequences. At stake, how far lawmakers should go to pass voting reforms, and whether procedure itself is becoming part of the political strategy.
And then at that point in time, they would actually be able to vote on it. You know, this is traditionally how the Senate was supposed to function. And then a couple decades ago, it somehow changed. But as Senator Mike Lee has stated, again, going back to what Senate was supposed to be and how it was supposed to function, I think people all learn bad habits, but they need to course correct. And I would actually push back on Senator Thune and say that the Save America Act, voter ID, is one of the top issues in this country. So they need to move heaven and earth to allocate time in order to bring forward that debate. But in the event that they don't, the president does have the option of really asking the House of Representatives and the Speaker to attach the Save America Act to FISA, and that's a must-pass reauthorization. And in my opinion, that would force them to pass it.
Well, I mean, we know that this is one of the top issues because we know that more than 80% of Americans believe that we should have a proper ID to vote. What's your take on what your colleague, Jared Moskowitz, said to me this week? He's saying, oh, yes, I will agree to it as long as it's just a driver's license. I made the point, no, well, the driver's license process has been abused. Here's a bit of that with your colleague from Florida just this week. Watch. Are you going to vote yes for ID to vote?
I'm for photo ID. We have photo ID here in Florida. And so I have no problem with photo ID. What's being proposed is a separate, completely different identification just for voting.
Now, wait a minute, because the SAVE Act, the Save America Act, is requiring voters to show ID to vote. And they also require a citizenship so that you stay with the law and, in fact, only have American citizens voting. So, again, will you vote yes to that act?
Yes, so again, there's no evidence that non-citizens are voting.
American citizens vote in American elections. So having an ID to vote would be in step with the law. So are you going to vote for the law?
If they put forward a bill that says you can use your driver's license or your state-issued identification to vote, I support that. The SAVE Act goes way beyond that. It would affect women whose birth certificate doesn't match their driver's license. It will depress turnout by requiring people to go and re-register to go get this new voter ID.
Congressman. That's not true.
This is about depressing turnout. It's not about making sure non-citizens vote.
Let them use their driver's license either, Congressman. The SAVE Act is a requirement for ID to vote, period. Congresswoman, what do you want to say to that?
Look, everything that he's saying is not accurate in regards to, A, wanting to depress voter turnout, and then also that it would make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. This seems to be a very common talking point for the Democrat Party currently. And I think what they're trying to do is really rally their base against this, even though their own base supports. Many Democrats support voter ID. And so what they're trying to do is fearmonger people into thinking that Republicans are they're saying that Republicans are going to steal the election. And so what I always say to that is, if you really believe what the blue anons are saying, wouldn't you want to secure it by having voter ID? So I think that the president might address this during his State of the Union address. But again, the way to secure elections, to ensure that all Americans, regardless of party affiliation, believe and feel that their vote counts, is to have voter ID. And so I've been championing that. As you know, Maria, I was willing and ready to shut down the government. But the president did say that he would help us with this. And as you're seeing, he's doing just that.
Yeah. So what else are you expecting from the president for the State of the Union on Tuesday night?
I think that he's really going to help set the messaging leading into the midterms. I'm feeling that he might talk about, the filibuster, the Save America Act, obviously what he's been doing with capping prescription prices, and then also to banning insider trading. When we first came on the show a couple months ago and talked about this being a massive issue within Congress and wanting to read out the government corruption that currently exists, insider trading is, again, one of these issues that is largely supported by the American people. And I think for so many years, the president has been taking incoming from the media, and they really try to spin everything that he does. But it's going to be interesting to see them try to tell the American people why banning insider trading is terrible, because President Trump is pushing it. Yeah. And I think that you'll find that his speech now, especially because, we are going into the midterms, will activate the base, but also to will have follow through and wins for the American people. And so I'm looking forward to it. Very happy about what he's doing with his economic populism. And I think another thing to remember is that capping prescription pricing, something that he pushed with the favored nations billing and pricing for it. I think that that's incredibly important. People forget that. But again, this is about codifying what he's done to ensure that it can't be undone in the next administration.
What we're seeing here is more than a debate about identification. It's a clash over Senate procedure, electoral confidence, and campaign season positioning. The talking filibuster, potential legislative attachments to must-pass bills, and the State of the Union messaging all signal that these issues are heading straight into the midterm narrative. Supporters frame the effort as restoring trust. Critics warn about unintended consequences. Ultimately, voters will decide which argument resonates. What's your view? Should election reform move through procedural pressure or bipartisan compromise? Share your thoughts below, and if you value balanced, fact-based analysis, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage.